Righty-ho. Right, exciting stuff. We're hiding in the shade because it's 26 degrees outside. In the sun, it's a bit on the warm side. We are at the Anderton Boat Lift, and so tomorrow we're going down the Anderton Boat Lift onto the River Weaver. Sorry, the Weaver Navigation, they refer to it as, but basically the River Weaver. We've booked on at 10 AM, so got a nice early slot. It's the day before tomorrow.
The day before tomorrow?
It's about 4:30 in the afternoon.
It's the day before tomorrow?
What am I on about? Anyway, we've been granted...
Most people call it today.
Today, it's today. We've been granted access to the boat lift. It's just closed to the public, so we're just about to go in, and we've been granted some exclusive access, which is super cool.
It is super cool. I don't know if it's good seeing it before or if I'll have a sleepless night. But
so we don't know. Yeah, we don't know what we're going to see. We don't know what they're allowed to show us, what they're prepared to show us, what they want to show us. I'm just going to go and see what's what and take it from there, really. But either way around, we should get to see some cool stuff. And then when we go on the lift tomorrow, when we actually travel on the lift, there should be some context for it. So we're about, what, 30-second walk away from the visitor centre, and it's... Right, we're going. It's time. I think these bollards here are the lift waiting area, aren't they?
Yeah, I've just seen the sign, it says 30 minutes.
Oh, there you go. She'll rock up and... Yes. Yes.
Oh, you're so excited, yes, aren't you? It's crazy.
Yes, yes. Yes. And here we are. One visitor centre. Let's go and have a look.
Rubber band put now.
Right, we have our chaperone.
Yeah.
We have our chaperone.
Okay. Right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Anderton Boat Lift. I'm Andrew. I'm the boatmaster here, one of the boatmasters here. And beside that, I do top of the world tours, a little bit of the history of the place itself, and look after special guests when they arrive here to film us.
Sounds like we're not going to have to do very much this vlog. Result.
Oh, look at the scale of it.
Now then, just a very brief safety.
Yeah.
You've got water, you've got height. Neither of you have got your high heel shoes on. I believe is that Mondays for you?
Yeah, I took mine off earlier. Yeah.
So only because of walking on decking, and it's there's the risk of your heels snapping, and that's very expensive. Please don't fall in the water, and don't be frightened to hold on to something.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the best. That's the simplest instruction. If you fall in, I've got a safety line, and I've got my life jacket on. I have to jump in and save you.
We'll do our best.
Right, before we get onto the lift itself, I'm just going to give you a bit of background. It'll make sense when we get onto the lift and you can see what all the various bits are. The lift was created to get goods to and from the River Weaver and the Trent and Mersey, and they're separated by about 50 feet in height, about 15 metres. So that's what the lift was effectively created for. Now, it's been through 3 different iterations. It was built in 1875 as a hydraulic lift, and it operated as such until 1908. The problem with the hydraulic system was that the kit was actually sitting in the River Weaver water, and due to the various industries, etc., around the river, the water corroded the hydraulic kit. So effectively in 1908, the lift was upgraded to electric operation, at which point you have the cogs, which you're going to see on the roof, massive electric cables, and a huge A-frame which was built to support the additional weight of the electric system. Now, the electric system ran from 1908 until 1983, at which point the lift was deemed as structurally unstable and it closed. It was opened in 2002, it was refurbished, renovated, and what you've got then is the reinstallation of hydraulic systems but in oil, not in water, so that gets rid of the corrosion issue. But with the 1908 electrical A-frame and cog system still there, so you can see all of that stuff. We're going to go and you'll get to see it, but that stuff isn't operating. So it is now a hydraulic lift. So it's gone from hydraulics to electrics and back to hydraulics again. So that's what you're going to see, and you'll hear Andrew talk about different dates, and yeah, that should hopefully start to make sense.
Well worn. That's what, 150 years worth.
Look at that.
Yeah. Fabulous.
The aqueduct here, 164 feet in length.
Wow.
About 5'6", nearly 6 feet in depth. It's a little bit difficult to say. I've been down there to work in it, and you're looking up. I'm sort of looking up, but there is mud on the bottom, so we're looking at probably 5'6".
Wow.
15 feet or so wide, and 160 odd feet long.
So how tall a boat can you get through here? Because there's quite a restriction there, isn't there?
We're looking at a little bit less than 8 feet.
Right.
2.4 meters, something like that.
Right.
Yeah. The lowest point is actually the bridge there, and not this.
Oh, to actually get through here.
Get through there, you'll get through here. Yeah.
That is cool, isn't it?
The journey time it took from here to Liverpool via the canal was significantly longer than via the river. So the lift was built to improve the service that was already being provided here from 1793, when they had the installed chutes and inclines. There used to be down here a little channel off the river, came in underneath the aqueduct. That's where they brought the barges in, and with chutes and inclines they transferred goods down below. This was covered in warehouses in its heyday.
Oh my word.
Goods were stored there. It was quite an inland port in its heyday.
It's
Lovely
amazing.
views up the river towards Northwich, looking over what was, even 70, 80 years ago, pretty well industrial wasteland here. Dumped chemicals from the fairly benign chemicals nonetheless from the factory here, ash and clinker from the salt works that used to be above us up here, but rewilded into the beginning late 80s. And Anderton Park here opened to the public around 1992. So we've now got nearly 1,000 acres of what's called the Northwich Woodlands here. About 22 miles of footpaths going through it. Rich in wildlife. It's amazing.
That's so nice.
Today we've seen herons, cormorants, kingfishers down on the river.
lovely.
Grey squirrels swimming across. They are very good swimmers.
Lovely.
Rarely seen, but seen today.
Gosh.
And I've seen otters down on the river, so we do very well. People do swim in it. I've not known of anybody suffering. We do have swimmers. We have paddleboarding events, canoes, and all sorts. So we do encourage the use of the river.
And it doesn't glow green at night or anything.
We don't think so.
We don't
no.
think so.
No, we don't.
There is a bit of runoff from this factory here just in front of us.
No, that's surface water.
Oh, is it surface water? Right,
Yes.
okay.
They do actually take water from the river and filter it for the processes on the plant, and what they don't use simply gets returned
Just comes back
again.
in, right.
So there are a couple of those. It looks like pollution.
What is it,
It's
that
not.
factory?
It produces these days pharmaceutical grade sodium bicarbonate.
Oh, right.
really?
It's the only
Right.
factory in the country that does it. It's owned by Tata Chemicals.
Right.
Tata have the European Chemicals division over here. It is, I believe, the bulk in tablets. So when you buy an aspirin, 10% aspirin, 90% sodium bicarb. I think why it fizzes when you bite into it. But more importantly,
Yes.
exported to
Horrible.
60 countries worldwide from here for use in the filtration systems in dialysis machines.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Right, right.
So new
Important,
factory due to be
actually.
built at the back. The whole site here due to be flattened basically. Planning permission for 1,500 homes. Yeah,
Isn't that the way these days?
it is. But we're now about to step off what is the original from 1875 and still in use, and step on or touch the 1908 model of the lift coming up here, which shrouds the lift these days. And this here is 1908.
Oh my word.
This
look at the,
here is 1875.
Gosh.
Cast iron columns still guiding the caissons as they come up and down, doing the same job now they've done for nearly 150 years.
Astonishing, isn't it?
Irrespective of whether the lift was hydraulic or electric, in the time that you used it, the principle was always the same. Coming from the Trent and Mersey, you drive your boat across an aqueduct full of water into a holding tank, and that's referred to as a caisson. There's then a guillotine comes behind you and closes your caisson, your tank, your holding tank, and holds the boat and the water in it. You're then dropped in your tank to the River Weaver level, and then the guillotine in front of you will lift, giving you free access out onto the river. So effectively, you're held in a large tank of water and lifted or dropped. That's how it works.
So this is the 1908. You'll notice it's quite pitted.
Yeah, that's the first thing you see, actually,
and
isn't
that's
it?
the steel
Yeah.
work. However, the 150-year-old cast iron is still in superb condition. There we go. Let's say superb. The whole lot is due for its a major refurbishment, and that's happening about 18 months' time. And it's going to be stripped, basically, of its paint,
Oh, wow.
repainted, all the hydraulics coming off, all the electrical elements coming off, because we're going to a Wi-Fi system.
Oh, really?
What can go wrong? Anything. So, many millions being spent.
And how much of that is sort of cosmetic versus sort of genuine longevity type maintenance, do you think? Are we making it look pretty, or
It's going to be looking prettier. It's going to be painted. The paintwork that went on was guaranteed for 20 years, and it's on its last legs, basically.
Is this the stuff that was when the boat
when it
the
was
lift
refurbished?
2002ish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's
Yeah.
fair enough.
So
then.
it's still, it's going to look better. It's going to look nice, because it was very nice and shiny when it first opened.
Yeah.
And it's lost
It's
its.
interesting all that money's been spent, because you just talk to people these days, don't you? And everybody's like, oh, will the canal survive? And the lack of funding
It is,
that's
but
coming. But they
this
must
is-
be fairly confident.
This is
if they're
national. A lot of
investing.
it is national lottery money.
Yeah.
And we've already had a significant advance payment from them, which would suggest that the main money that we're asking for is going to come along as well. Plus, we've got to raise our own funds, so that's coming along quite nicely.
Yeah.
So all being well, say by this time next year, we should know if we've got the money, and then it's going to be shut for a while. I say that it's suggested it could be 18 months.
Oh, really? As long
But
as
some of the work
Yes.
was due to be done, we did over the last winter. We had a stoppage due to a
Oh,
safety
yeah.
issue,
Yeah.
and we managed to
we
bring
heard about
forward
that.
some of the work that was going to be done. So that saved time.
That's helped.
So I think 18 months is the extreme.
Yeah.
But I would like to think perhaps about a year or even less.
I think the lifts are, it's more than CRT, isn't it? It's a national treasure.
It
I
is
know, I
now,
know it's
because
one
it's
of
a
the
listed monument,
Yeah,
yes.
it sort of transcends
It's-
beyond the canal.
You could almost say it's nominally independent of the
Yeah.
trust itself.
Yeah.
Although, thankfully, they do fund it. Yeah. So it's not. If it was self-funding from what we get here, it wouldn't operate.
No.
We couldn't do it. It's
So many people have just come to look at it, won't
Yes,
they?
do,
That's,
yeah.
it's not. You don't just come here to use it.
I mean, it was the first of its kind in the world, and it is still the world's oldest operating boat lift.
And it's
There
really,
isn't much
really
left.
high up.
There isn't much left of the others.
No,
Little more
well,
than bits of rubble and stonework,
We
basically.
built stuff properly, didn't we?
We
I
did
mean,
that.
we were a proper force to be reckoned with to build
Ridiculously
something like this.
over-engineered, because they didn't have computers. They used slide rules,
Yeah.
and then you always added 10% anyway.
yeah.
So you put in a slide rule error,
Yeah.
added 10% and built
Yeah.
it, and it's still here 150 years later. And it's the original structure that's still in use. That's the critical thing about this. Even the caissons date back to 1875 as well.
Do they?
So the only thing that really the only thing that we've replaced is the hydraulic system. So that's the only thing that's different. Obviously modern controls, but the only thing that's really different from 1875 is the method of hydraulic operation rather than the obviously the hydraulics oil, not the
Water, yeah.
canal water,
Yeah,
which
which was the problem that kicked it all off, yeah. And it's still fit for purpose, isn't it?
it still works.
I know, like you
We've
say,
got
they're going to strip the electrics.
We've got one side out of action due to a mechanical problem at the moment. That should be resolved when the new part arrives. When the lift was refurbished back in the early 2000s, all the A-frames were taken down and refurbished, but the cast iron columns remained in place. There was no need to move those because they were in good condition, so they remained where they are. So what we're looking at here very clearly is the 1908 structure that shrouds the original lift itself. It was quite an attractive structure in it when it was first built. There are those who've said the addition of the A-frames made it a little bit uglier. And it's the natural taste. Really.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I mean, heavy engineering is kind of pretty in its own brutalist manner, isn't it? So.
It's what it is. It was built for a purpose.
Right, so question, how many times does it break down?
Ah, I knew you'd have to ask.
How many times did it break down?
Yeah.
How long is a piece of string?
Well, like, since in the year.
In the year.
How many breakdowns have you had since January?
January, let me think. Well, it was not in action in January because, all right, since the season started, 1st of April, we've got this side broke. We've had a couple of them, but nothing for any great length of time.
People in?
Yes. But it's not too frightening because we have, should something happen while the people are in the boat, in the caisson, we can lower it mechanically.
Yeah.
So we can open the valves basically at the back there, transfer the oil in the system, in the under the ram and into the cylinder, back into the holding tank in the building at the back there.
Yeah.
So it takes.
So you're not stuck.
You're not stuck. No. And then we do have a means to get we've got emergency ladders we can get out because the trip boat actually makes a reasonable amount of money for the organisation.
Good.
It tends to take priority.
Yeah.
But we've also got to look after the boaters as well looking to use the lift. So we do
It's
try.
alright if you want to cancel us, that's alright.
No, it is
No,
not.
Oh no,
no,
don't worry,
it is
no.
not.
It's working at the moment. In the old days, they simply drained 15 tons of water out of the lower one, and because they were interconnected hydraulically, you'd open the valve between the two. In simple terms, the heavier one pushed the lighter one to the top.
Yeah.
And it was
Job
extremely
done.
efficient.
Yeah, nice
68
and simple.
boats a day was the maximum they did.
Jeez.
And they could get the boat from the bottom to the top and out on the river in about 8 minutes. Today it's about 30.
Wow, health and safety, etc.,
Yes,
etc.
basically.
How long are the caissons then? What's
They're 75 feet long,
okay.
about 15 feet wide, and again summer depth to the aqueduct there. You can see the depth there. You can see these gates here, the aqueduct watering. So we're looking at, say, at about 4 foot 6, 5 feet.
Oh look, there's the first glimpse of the old cogs.
Modelled on the original control room, but it's somewhat it's suffering basically. It's due to be replaced. I can't take you in because I haven't got the keys with me, but we've got some of the old controls in there. But when you do the
still
walk the lift tours, you can go in.
You can go in and see all of that, yeah. Oh, but it smells great in there.
It doesn't really have a great smell.
Does it not? Oh, that's a bit disappointing.
Yeah. Now then, onto the top there. And this is the sort of deep breath type stuff now. Not as high as the Ponte Aqueduct.
Oh wow, somebody's got a story about that.
Oh dear.
Not that one, the Chirk Aqueduct.
The Chirk, yeah. I think it's still lower than that as well.
I'm not talking about that up here, I'll tell you about
All right, okay. Right, here we go. The 1908 controls, or the machinery, should I say. It's wonderful.
Oh, wow.
It's wonderful. It all starts off on each side, in the mirrored each side, so that they can work independently. Down there is an electric motor made by Mather and Platt in Manchester.
Oh, really?
Connected to a worm drive, which in turn drives a shaft. The shaft runs down to a bevel gear. The bevel gear then transfers that power again to the shafts on this side. But again, the lay shafts are transferred the power all the way to the pulley wheels here. All beautifully made and casted, finished not by the company who cast them, but by the employees of what was then the Weaver Navigation of the Yards in Northwich. They were hand filed and designed, or in the design invented or patented, more correctly, by Andre Citroën. You still see that little chevron badge on the front of his cars today. Yes. Yeah.
How much do these bad boys weigh then?
This one about 5 tons. The smaller ones are 2.5 to 3 tons. I think there are some small ones somewhere. So 5 tons, 3 tons, and it's
Look
just
at them.
amazing.
Look at them.
The thought that went into this to design this was just unbelievable. Yeah. Most of the work done for the 1908 conversion, 06-08 conversion, was done in-house, and it was the employees of the Weaver Navigation.
Was it
who did a
really?
lot of the work
Oh,
here.
wow.
We've got lots of photographs of the work that was going on in 06-08. Almost nothing at all from the 1875 construction, and even for the 1908 stuff, we don't actually know how they managed to get these things
Up here.
up here.
Yeah.
There is a photograph of a steam crane on a railway track down at the bottom here, and there is a subsequent photograph, we think, of the same steam train hanging off on some sort of wooden scaffold on the far side of the lift here.
People were just
Clearly.
brave, weren't they?
Clearly, they lifted them up. How on earth
Yeah.
they got 5 tons of metal
Yeah.
from either side to
And
the
then
middle here?
suspended.
We
Yeah.
just don't know, and I'd
Yeah.
love to find
Yeah,
out,
that'd be fascinating.
because
Yeah.
we know they use shear legs, but that was probably the 1875 construction. But there's no photographs of anybody lifting anything into place. And what's more amazing is that the lift continued to operate while there's 5 tons of
Yeah, just hanging
5
over
tons
your
of
head.
pulley wheel over your head, swinging in the air.
I heard a stat that in the conversion they only lost 49 working days or something.
Yes, it was about 7 weeks.
Isn't that staggering?
Edwin,
to do all of this.
John Sainer, the then engineer, promised 6 weeks. It actually ended up with 7 weeks and it's closed.
God, that's
They
not
needed
bad,
a bit of
is
time
it?
to put the foundations in for the 8th
That's
range.
not bad.
They
Yeah.
needed time.
Yeah.
They needed time to concrete the dock beneath us here because it'd been wet, with river water in there in the early days. But he had his design involved it being dry, so it became a dry dock down there, and that was a short while as well. That was closed. Well, down, it's still a big journey down there anyway.
I mean, imagine getting a child system, and there wasn't even, you could get your iPad out or your phone, could you,
My mum,
to say entertain
my
yourself.
mum used to give us travel sick tablets. It made
Yeah,
you,
yes,
made you
we
sick.
had those.
Look what I've just found.
We had those.
Oh, the bolt. No, it's small on that one.
I'll put that one back.
Okay.
I'm sure that's not needed.
That's not out of our side, that's out of the other side.
Yeah, here we go. It's a bit warm. This is not heating, but sun. This is sun warmth.
Oh wow. It's like a sauna.
So this is the nerve centre here.
This is where the magic
Yeah,
happens.
the magic. All on a Windows NT. If you've heard of.
Oh,
Do you
is
remember
it?
that from the dim and distant
Yeah,
past?
yeah.
Probably in the. Oops.
That was hydraulic powered, wasn't it?
Yeah, on steam powered ours, the more modern version. Yeah, it was Windows NT, and that's due for replacement as well with the big refurbishment.
This is all
coming up.
CCTV screens.
This is all various cameras on the lift to show what's going on. So for safety purposes, it's a bit of extra monitoring.
So how important is a human then these days to this in reality?
There was some talk about making it automatic, rather like some of the locks in France.
Yeah.
That won't work.
No.
Gosh. What do we say to that?
There's nothing that Andrew doesn't know about the Anderton Boat Lift, I think.
Yeah, gosh, he's knowledgeable, isn't he? And seriously enthusiastic.
Well, even though he's a permanent employee, he does so much sort of research and goes looking for more and more information on the history of the boat lift and surrounding area. He seems to know quite a lot about that. He
Yeah.
tells us about the tunnels and stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah, he loves his research. But what a stunning. Oh, I don't even know how to describe it. It's sort of it's brutalist, it's pretty, it's amazing, it's a feat of engineering, it's imposing. Yeah, wow. And when we go on it tomorrow, we're just that was so cool, absolutely so cool. So, but massive thumbs up to the CRT.
for allowing us that access. And turns out that they're starting to do tours, top of the world tours as they call them. So you can see what we saw today for a few quid, and they'll tour you around on selected days, and well worth doing. Well worth doing. So come and show your support for the Anderton Boat Lift. It doesn't fix itself, it doesn't maintain itself. We all need to do our little bit and help to keep it going. And there'll be a link up there or down there or something, showing you how you can get involved yourself and come and have a look.